Hello, welcome back to the third Lisk Community Meetup of this year. Here we will update you about what is happening within the Lisk ecosystem, what people are working on, and what keeps the community awake this week. And these are exciting times with a few weeks after the Lisk mainnet migration. My name is Jurre Magielsen. I'm part of the MUSD team, a blockchain development studio, and part of Lisk Center Utrecht, a blockchain developer community in the Netherlands. First, a quick update on the most important things happening in the Lisk ecosystem. Recently, the Lisk mainnet migrated to a version 3, and with that a bunch of new features kicked in. The consensus algorithm has been updated, and with that everyone has to cast new votes for their favorite delegates. Every vote locks tokens, and already over 21 million Lisk have been locked. LSK, I have to say. A new version of Lisk Desktop has been released, fixing a bug this week. Several libs have been merged on GitHub. And the second edition of HackOnLisk started. You can build a DeFi or gamify blockchain app with over $60,000 in prize money. And also the winners of the first wave of the grant program have been announced. NFT and Calipo. Check out lisk.chat for more information about the projects, to get in touch with the community or for regular news. And all links to relevant libs, blog posts, etc. are provided in the description. Today we are joined by Jackson, the man behind Moracle and a USD-backed stablecoin HackOnLisk submission. But today what will he do? He will talk about oracles, cross-chain, and NFTs, and maybe we can ask him some personal questions. Welcome, Jax. Happy to have you here. How are you?
I am doing very well. It's a beautiful morning outside. I know it's the evening there, but we can be together through the power of the internet. But I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me.
Perfect. Nice to have you here. Yes, here it's a nice afternoon actually. 5 o'clock. I hope you don't hear the boring behind me, but I will just give you the word. Take it away. I'm looking forward to your presentation.
Cool. So I can start?
Yes, perfect.
Awesome. So today I'll be talking about NFTs, oracles, and how they can both be combined to create cross-platform ownership. And then in this example in particular, I'll be using Lisk as a level 2 scalability solution for some Ethereum projects, because those are all the current dominant NFT marketplaces. Ethereum is crowded and it's really difficult to develop on, and it's expensive. But it's where all of the cool stuff currently is, from NFTs to DeFi. Lisk, on the other hand, offers a really great developer experience and full control over your blockchain. You can set your fees to whatever you want. You can have your validators be whoever you want. You can customize every single attribute of it. And it's effectively completely free to develop on and spin up. There's no minting fees. There's no mandatory gas prices. You have full control. However, it's desirable to be able to interact with other apps. And that's what makes Ethereum so popular, and Binance Smart Chain. All projects exist on the same chain so that they can access data and transact with each other. However, we can use oracles to allow users to prove ownership of their digital assets, whether they're on Ethereum or Binance Smart Chain, Solana, or a Lisk sidechain. So no matter where they own the asset, whether it's OpenSea or a Lisk sidechain, they'll be able to prove ownership of it in order to use it on other platforms. So an example concept where this might be useful is a central space to show off all of your digital collectibles. And this concept is a 3D space where people can purchase space and place their NFT collectibles inside it for anyone to see. The objects are added to the 3D space and are stored in a Lisk sidechain. And then this allows users to quickly and easily add, remove, or move objects without paying costly gas prices. So if you just needed to move your art piece or rotate it, you don't have to pay a whole Ethereum fee. You only have to pay that once. And then information on the ownership of the NFTs is communicated to the Lisk sidechain through oracles. The verification process is a four-step process. And in this example, we can prove ownership of an Ethereum NFT on a Lisk sidechain without any really fancy cross-platform messaging, but just good old-fashioned digital signatures. So the user can sign a special message with their Ethereum address, and then they can include that message string in a special sidechain transaction type, which is like prove ownership of external address. And then the sidechain processes that transaction and it validates the signature. And then the Ethereum address is added to the Lisk account database. And then once that's there, we can actually use it. Oh wait, I've got one more step before that. And so then once you've added your Ethereum address, you can place your objects in 3D space like this. Basically, and place a cross. Sorry, I just woke up, but I've got my coffee right here, so forgive me. Placing a cross-chain NFT in 3D space using a Lisk blockchain and using Ethereum assets in a secondary system without paying gas prices is what we're doing here. And so Lisk is acting as a level 2 scalability layer, or even just a completely different ecosystem that just has foreign grants of ownership. So the user sends a place object command and references the ETH hash of that asset. And then the sidechain processes the transaction, make sure that the signature is valid for that ETH address. And then it triggers the Oracle to asynchronously check if that ETH address is linked to the account that owns that object. And that's done through a Lisk plugin channel, which notifies the Oracle services, which can be centralized or decentralized, but for this example, it's just centralized. And then the Oracle sends a callback transaction. They're able to go use an Ethereum API to go check that you own that asset. And once it confirms it, then the object is added to the world database inside of the Lisk node. In terms of actually building the world, we can utilize Lisk plugins to feed information to an outside source. So we can build a Lisk plugin providing access to the world database as a REST API, and then that gets ported to a spatial database and game server. I've been working on something called WorldQL, which I'll show you in a little bit, that can be used for this project. Right now, I'm targeting the web as the next priority. And then viewing the world, the spatial database and game server just communicates with a Three.js browser-based game client over WebSocket. And development has started on this, and I'm hoping it'll be a really cool Lisk showcase. It'll be a proof of concept for cross-chain ownership using oracles. It'll be a real-world use of Lisk to scale other decentralized apps in new contexts, letting people take their NFTs and use them in a new place. And it'll just be a fun little experiment. It'll be a browser-based game world displaying real data from a Lisk blockchain. And then I've got a second presentation with a little bit more information on that. So, and I'm basically calling it Art World, and it's a browser-accessible collaborative 3D art experience. Someone recently said to me, what can I do with an NFT? With a video game skin, I can at least show it off. And that's a really great point. You can't really do anything with NFTs right now, like with a CSGO skin, for example. You can at least use it in-game. And so the goal of this goofy little project is to be the place to show off your NFTs. It lets people build and explore in a shared 3D space. Since it uses Lisk and foreign authorizations of ownership, the goal is to have it be compatible with NFTs from multiple marketplaces. You just prove your ownership cryptographically, and then you have access to all your artworks. I want to launch it with OpenSea support and then add more later. You can place 2D art in a frame and just place it anywhere, or OpenSea supports GLB models, which can be placed in the world and given collision. This is obviously a bit silly, but it'll have a virtual real estate economy that can be bought and sold either on a Lisk sidechain or through OpenSea's auction mechanic. And it's sold by the cube rather than vertical plots, which could allow for some interesting mechanics. For example, the interior and exterior of a building could be owned by different people. It also would enable new NFT art forms. For example, architects could sculpt and sell one-of-one virtual buildings, which can be placed on property and used to showcase other NFT art as like a museum. Or it could form a new market of 3D building materials with unique shapes and textures, which then can be used to create completely custom structures in-game. And it'll be instantly accessible. You can just share a location in Art World with a link, and then it'll run entirely in your browser using a 3JS-based game engine, and then you can just explore. And yeah, that's what I've been working on, and hopefully I'll be coming out with something in these coming weeks.
Cool. Thanks. So if anybody has questions, just let them know in the YouTube chat or in the Discord. Can I ask you a question, Jax?
Yeah, you can ask as many questions as you want.
So if you're talking about oracles, what do you mean with oracles?
Yeah, so just a simple service that responds to a certain type of transaction. It's triggered by it, and then I might have I don't have any of my older presentations here, but it goes and it gets some data about an external object, and it's a trusted source by the chain. And then it sends a callback transaction once it's done getting all of that information, which provides external data from the internet, such as whether or not a user owns an NFT asset on a different blockchain, so that the transaction can be finalized on Lisk. So, like, for example, when you run a place object command, this first row creates a transaction which triggers the oracle, which is an off-chain process. And then it goes and it gets the information, and then much later it gets to or a couple of blocks later, it gets to the second row when it sends a callback transaction confirming ownership. And then it actually gets added to the world database. So basically any transaction that wants to use outside data has to split their logic into two transactions. One transaction to initialize the data request, and then the second transaction to actually receive that data from the Oracle and do something with it.
And does it mean that you, in this case, have to trust the Oracle?
Oh, yes, absolutely. But you can have, just in the same way that you have to trust your delegates, you can just pick a large group of people that you trust to serve as the oracles, and you can make it so they all have to provide the same answer in order to trust it in your sidechain.
Yes.
But there is definitely an element of trust.
And you, in this case, you are using these oracles to actually get the data from outside of your blockchain, or do you need it to connect it to blockchains? Is that the reason you are using these oracles?
Yeah, it's to connect to outside blockchains. It's to get information about ownership on Ethereum or Solana or Binance Smart Chain or another Lisk side chain inside a Lisk SDK app.
Yeah, cool. I like the fact that you are combining these two ecosystems and are using a proof of concept that is about that actually leverages the different infrastructures.
Yeah, hopefully it should be fun. The whole thing's a bit silly, but Hopefully it should be a neat little experiment, and then I'll definitely share a link to it when it's ready in the Lisk chat, so people can walk around and see the world and see something that's powered by Lisk.
Yeah, I get one question from Future Wind. Nice Jackson, are you describing a Minecraft-style voxel-based cube world?
No, it would not be voxel based. It would just be cubic areas that people can get entitled to place objects in. And then it's just standard high fidelity 3D models that they can place and rotate in 3D space. So it would not be voxel based. It would just be a free form 3D objects with custom rotation and scaling and collisions, etc. So that people can add their 3D chromie squiggle or whatever NFT they want that's in 3D.
Yeah, it sounds like a little bit of a museum.
Yeah, the whole point of it is to be just a collaborative museum.
Cool. So, if there are no other questions in between, then I'll just go ahead. Is this the main project you are working on? Are you trying to experiment with Lisk? What's the reason you are doing this?
I just think it would be fun. And I am working on some stuff in the game tech space, and I need to develop WebSocket support anyways for web clients. And I think that this would just be a really fun example project that A, lets people do something with their NFTs, and B, is just a really good use of a Lisk sidechain. And so this will be, and it'll be a really great use to show people how to use the Moracle pattern in production. And so I'm working on it for those three reasons.
And are you also do you like the game world? Would you like to develop more within that area of expertise? Are you also applying for a HackOnLisk the second?
Um, Maybe I might just yeah, I mean, I'm just going to be building this project independently. I might be collaborating with some people at Sidechain Solutions with it. Um, and if it's cool, we might enter it in HackOnLisk. But at the moment, uh, I this at the moment, like HackOnLisk, didn't that just get announced like last week?
Yes, but I remember it's like they have gamify and DeFi, so maybe it fits somewhere in the gamify world.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, if it's cool, we'll absolutely just throw it in as a submission. Thanks for the suggestion.
And I also heard you recently graduated. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to disclose this information, but again, congratulations. And what are your plans in the short future? Like, would you like to let us know a little bit more about your personal plans?
Yeah, so I worked for a couple months and then I left that job very amicably, gave them lots of notice, helping them wind down and giving them support on all the features that I worked for them. I had a programming job, but now I'm working full time on a startup I founded called WorldQL, which is a spatial database and game server all in one that's designed to help developers build persistent real-time worlds more easily. And I am still very much interested in Lisk, and it is a focus of mine. And so I just sort of wanted to combine all of that into one project, get some Moracle development done, and use an Oracle in production, make a cool little Lisk sidechain example, and then use WorldQL as a game engine to power the web-based multiplayer experience. And so this will probably be my primary focus over the next couple weeks or month.
So that I'm not very familiar with game engines, but why would you build one your own?
Well, it's not a it's more of just a multiplayer server than the full game engine.
And then again, why would you want to build it?
Because there aren't currently any just off-the-shelf multiplayer solutions that make it really easy to build persistent worlds in the browser, for example. Like you have to just build all of that back end yourself, and I thought it would be a challenging project and solving a useful problem.
Yeah, it sounds very interesting.
Yeah, basically it's the persistence issue that lots of current game server projects fail on. If you want objects that the users place to stay there permanently, you have to integrate your own backend. And I found that it just would be easier to, and you also have to have a data structure that's well optimized for storing a large amount of 3D objects permanently rather than just in memory. And so those two differences were enough for me to just make it a whole new project.
Yeah, interesting.
Forgive me again if I'm not making sense. It's early here.
Now, for me, it's difficult to grasp because I'm not very familiar with that technology and the basics. So I'm trying to keep up with you, but I think for most people, you're making sense here in this room. And I'm also reading a question. No, I don't. Do you have a link to your project, the WorldQL project you are working on?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, this Ultra Fresh linked it. Um, this is the project, and this is what I'll be using with Lisk to power the multiplayer backend.
Cool. And so to understand a little bit better, would other people be able to leverage that multiplayer backend for their own specific games if they would like to?
Yeah, absolutely. We're trying to get design partners right now. I've been talking with a few indie studios and a couple of people that are building some early games in it that aren't Minecraft. Um, and if people want to use it as a multiplayer backend for building browser games for the next HackOnLisk, we're going to try to have it ready in the next couple weeks to months. So if anyone just needs like a simple multiplayer server with persistent object support that they can control with a blockchain and just drop it in for their gamify blockchain project, that'll certainly be something we're trying to do.
Awesome. So I think if there are no other questions, then we can just wrap it up. So I will have a short minute if there are any questions about your project or what you are going to do.
Yeah, sure. Or anything you might be interested in using it for that we can try to support.
Yeah, and
I will not be using Phaser.js, just to answer Future Wind's question. Um, you could though, and I'll certainly maybe make an example on how to use Phaser.js in this context to build blockchain apps, but I'll just be using 3JS for a basic 3D world because I need 3D. And maybe Phaser supports 3D these days, but the last time I checked, it was just a 2D engine.
perfect. I don't see any other questions. So then, is there anything you would like to share still after this pretty short but concise meetup?
I don't have a ton right now. Yeah, I've just been heads down on building, and as soon as I've got this ready, I'll post the GitHub here, and everyone can check it out.
Perfect. So thank you very much for your presentation and a quick chat. And I'm very curious to hearing more about it, maybe in another meetup or when you are further in the development. And for everybody else, if you're considering building a blockchain application, there's a new HackOnLisk which you can apply for. And maybe you can even leverage the tools built by Jackson if you would like to have a multiplayer game. And all links and notes will be provided in the description. And don't forget to join lisk.chat for community support. So thanks, Jackson, for being our guest. And I'm really looking forward to what you're going to build and to hear more about it soon.
Yeah, sorry I didn't have more details today. Thank you very much for having me.
Not a problem. It's always a pleasure talking to you, and let's figure it out along the way. Thank you, everybody. Also, thanks to the guys in the background, Sander and Rafael, part of the MUSD team, who are always doing a great job making this happen. See you in 2 weeks, by the way. Next community meetup is in 2 weeks, and hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Have a good one.